Good evening. Welcome to Vibin with Ashley Live. I'm your host, the one and only Ashley Live, and this is episode 188 of my show. Tonight's guest is the beautiful and talented singer-songwriter Amanda Ayala. Now, this will be Amanda's third time on Vibin with Ashley Live, and I'm very excited to bring her back to the show. So she's one of those performers. She radiates emotion. She is such a beautiful and talented songwriter. And in 2015, she was on season 9 of The Voice, Team Adam Levine, and her latest single, Just Tell Me, was released January 27th. Amanda is in the house, and whenever you're ready, Amanda, come on in. Let's get this party started. Hey, Andrew, what's up? Thank you for coming in, Andrew. It's been a minute. It's been a minute, Andrew. When will I have Adara back? You know, I have to reach out to Adara. I'll have her back on the show. Thanks, guys, for joining me. Hi, Amanda.
Hi there. How are you?
I'm doing well. How's everything going with you?
Everything's been going great. You know, it's been busy, but busy's good, so I can't complain.
Yes. And I was saying in the introduction how this is your third time on my show.
Third time's a charm. That's why I say it's crazy to believe it's 3 times already.
I know. It's so crazy because when I was talking to you earlier, I was like, I feel like we just spoke yesterday.
It's 100% true. Like, I feel like no time has passed, although time is legitimately flying at the same time. But
I know. No, I know. Do you feel like the older you get, time like goes by quicker?
I say that all the time. I think I have like a theory on it, but I think it's because when you're younger, like when you're 9 or 10, like 10 years, you only have 10 years to compare it to. So it feels like 10 years is forever. But you know, the older that you get, I feel like you just quickly see how fast the year can fly by because you've lived more life. You've lived more years.
Yeah, and it's wild. I just feel like the older I get, I blink and then it's Christmas. Like you and I were just talking, you're like, yeah, I still feel like it's Christmas. I'm like, me too, but I am happy that it's a new year, like new beginnings, new things to accomplish.
It's true. I'm still in disbelief that it's 2023 already. I feel like 2019 was just yesterday too.
That's how I feel. I'm like, what is going on? And especially like with the pandemic, I feel like the pandemic when people are like, oh, how old are you? I'm like, however old I was in 2019 because 2020 didn't count.
Exactly. I'm like, the 2 years that happened, 3 years, I'm like, it doesn't exist.
Those
2 years, skip them.
Love it. So like I said earlier, it's so much fun catching up with you and having you on my show. One of the main reasons you were on my show is because your new single just dropped a couple days ago. So talk to me about everything that's been happening since the single dropped.
So honestly, it's been really like busy and hectic. Obviously, like, you know, the song itself and the reception that I've been getting since I released it has been, you know, so amazing. The outpouring support that I've been getting from fans and friends that have been reaching out. And we dropped the visualizer that came with it. So, and you know, the Spotify playlists have been like really flooding through. So there's just been like so much to kind of keep up with that it's been really, really exciting.
Yes. Congrats on the new single, Just Tell Me. So when I hear the song, I am like, girl, I feel you. Like, I feel like when you hear this song, we've all been there. We've all dealt with somebody in a relationship and it's like, listen, I just want to shake you because you need to talk to me. You need to communicate with me.
Exactly. I like the perfect thing that I see in my head when I was like kind of writing the song after it was completed is the scene from The Notebook where Ryan Gosling is like almost shaking Rachel McAdams, and when right before he gets in the car and he's like, what do you want? Like, I don't care what anyone else is, what do you want? And then that's kind of everything that I see that scene every time I'm kind of singing this song, because that's exactly like the frustration that I was like feeling in the moment when I was writing it.
Definitely. So let's talk about like the song to begin with. Is this about like one specific person, or is this just like multiple people that you've dealt with that you're just like, oh my gosh, I wish you would just talk to me?
Like it's kind of a mixture. Like it was based off of, you know, one particular like experience that I was kind of dealing with, but it was just like, and I was kind of pulling then from like other inspirations where I've kind of felt in that frustration with like, whether it be with friends or family, like we're just the lack of communication was not there. So it, you know, it stems from that relationship-esque, but it kind of pulled from frustrations from all elements of like lack of communication.
Yeah, and I think that's something, it's very common nowadays, lack of communication. I hate to say it's common, but it is, right?
It's so true. And I feel like, I don't want to like blame technology, but I feel like technology is, you know, one of the big reasons why like communication nowadays, like verbal communication, like face to face, is like so obsolete now. Like it's just like, oh, a text or something like that. And I'm like, oh, talk face to face is so much better.
So wait, so okay, so you would rather someone call you on the phone than text you?
Honestly, like because sometimes like I feel like it would take like 20 minutes of a text message conversation,
Yeah.
rather than it's just either call me or tell me when you see me, like what you want to talk about, rather than like just sending like a multitude of text messages back and forth. Like I'm so bad at my phone to begin with, I barely text. Like my friends will text me and I'll be like, oh, I'll talk to them when I see them in person.
So okay, so if someone texts you, you don't really like respond to them?
I do respond. It's a bad rap to have, but my friends can attest to it. Like I'll see it, and then like I'll know when I'm going to see them next, whether it's like a day or two. Yeah, see, look, my friend Tom is on right now, and he vouches for that. So it's like I do answer depending on the severity of the text, but if I know it can wait, then I'm like, we'll talk about it in person rather than just like shooting a text back and forth.
Yeah, and I think you also need to know the people in your life, because I think like sometimes like friends or family members, I feel some people are better on the phone than they are text. Like I text the way I talk, but I know like there's like this one friend I have in California who I love to pieces, and I'm a texter, but I know if I text him, he won't talk, like he won't respond. So anytime I reach out to him, I have to call him.
Yeah, or else I'm not gonna answer.
Yeah, and I think you need to like meet people where they are, because like some people are texters, some people like want to actually have the communication with you like face to face or like on the phone, and like let's just all get better at communication.
It's so true. It's so true. I mean, even though we have like I'm guilty of it too. Like I have communication really in my fingertips, and I'm not like utilizing it. As here I am telling someone in my song, just tell me, and I can't even answer a text.
Hey, it's, I mean, I think you kind of just gotta like know what works for you. And sometimes you could be so busy and you could be like, oh my gosh, I'll look at it later, but you might look at the text and then like you put your phone down and then you're like, oh my gosh, I think that person texted me like 3 days ago.
Yep, that is exactly what happens. Then I have an Apple Watch too, so I'll read it on my watch, and then like I like mentally answer, and it's just like I never hit send.
Yeah. So I think the main story with all this is just like, let's just communicate better and efficiently. But I feel like this is based on a relationship, right? Like this is like a romantic relationship we're talking about.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, the song stems from like the romanticism of like, you know, kind of not knowing where somebody stands with you emotionally, like because they're kind of just showing you like these mixed signals, like these back and forths. 1 minute they care and they miss you, and then the next minute like you're just getting like ghosted or it's just cold.
Yeah, but I feel like we've all been there. Like we've all been in these situations where it's like you just want to shake the person. You're like, can you just talk to me? Like I just need you to like tell me yes, tell me no, tell me like get out of my face, just something.
Exactly. And I think that's like in the part of the song, like, you know, it's like in the verse lyrics, it's kind of like where I kind of reach that breaking point where it's like I'm emotionally attached and invested, but I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this. Like I'm doing this for so long because you're so invested in this person. Yeah. But like the ups and downs of it is just at one point or another, it's like all or nothing at that rate.
Yeah. So I guess what happened with that relationship? Are you still with that person, or did you say bye? I'm done.
Adios.
Was it because of the communication though?
It was just like a multitude of things. Like that was honestly one of them. It was just like you never knowing where the person really like fully stood with you, and it was just like, you know, kind of like that toxic cycle.
Yeah. Yeah, I think sometimes like if the person can't communicate, that would be like one of multiple red flags, because like, come on, we need to know how to communicate with each other if we're like going to be in this together.
Exactly. And especially like there's feelings, you know what I mean? Like you just want to know, like you want to be like on the same page with somebody as opposed to just kind of like always guessing. Like 1 minute, like, you know, and then the next minute you're just like, was I reading this wrong?
Yeah. And it just like you said, just tell me. Like, I just want to shake some sense into someone. Just give me something. Like, don't just look at me like with a blank stare and just like think I'm a mind reader. Because like nobody works that way.
It's so true. It's so true. It's like yes or no.
Yes or no. So okay. So when did the idea for the song like first come to fruition?
Honestly, it was a little while ago. I want to say it was right in the beginning of like 2020, like when like right around that time. I remember sitting like up in my room with my acoustic, and I was kind of just feeling frustrated. And I kind of do this thing when I go into writing sessions where I'll like read old text messages or things like that that really kind of either can make me happy, sad, or angry.
Yeah.
And I kind of was doing that like just because obviously I had really nothing to do that day. I was just sitting down and writing, and I was going through texts, had my acoustic, and then the song essentially just kind of spiraled and wrote itself, I think, within the hour. And that's kind of the common thread of my songs that I really put out. Like, it's within the hour. If they're not written in itself, I feel like I don't really release them. So this was like a 60-minute song, wrote it, and now it's 3 years later now, it's finally out.
Love it. So you just saw these texts and you're like, you keep writing and you're like, oh my gosh, this is the next song.
It is. Like, it was kind of one of those things. And like, literally, and I think that's why, because it came from such like a true emotion where I was just like getting like so frustrated even reading the text messages. Like, I was just like fire on the pad, my hand was just like moving.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you visit these old relationships, right, and you're like, oh my gosh, and you like look at them and then you get like very heated or angry or like, oh my god, I missed them, and then you're like, and it flows right out of you.
Exactly. And honestly too, it's like I'll go back when I write songs, or if I'm trying to like reach for inspiration when I really have none. Like, I'll even go back like way back, just to kind of pull things from really old times, just to like, because it was still happened in my life, whether it was current or if it's in the past.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll try and really pull inspiration from pretty much everything.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. And I think sometimes like I can only imagine like what your texts are like, and if you're like in the studio and like, oh my gosh, I was gonna go through my texts with this person, and then it's like, yep, I just wrote a song based on those texts.
It's true. And honestly, like, and that's kind of how I do it too. Like, depending if like music, if I need music really to write. I can't do lyrics first. That's kind of like not, I guess, essentially how I write. I always need like a vibe for a song. And if like something's happy, I'll go in, or I'll look through pictures or something like that, things that make me happy. Or if I know something's going to make me mad or sad and the vibe of the song is that, then I'll go to like a specific person's text or things like that to really kind of rehash emotions.
Definitely. So was there a reason that you released this song kind of near Valentine's Day?
Honestly, I didn't think of that. I kind of was like, you know, new year, new music, like just kind of New Year up. Honestly, the song was delayed a little bit. It was supposed to come out earlier. It was supposed to come out in November, and then I had some production delays and things like getting into the studio. So that's why it kind of got pushed a little bit. But honestly, it's kind of cool that it does land on right before Valentine's Day. If you're a hopeless romantic, it kind of is good.
Yeah. Because you're either like with somebody, you're not with somebody, you're like, hey, I am like not going to be dealing with anyone's BS right now.
It's true, 100%. That's why I say Valentine's Day for the win.
Yes, I'm into that. So, okay, so talk to me about the creative process behind the song. Like, I know you were going through Texas, but like, let's dig into that a little bit more.
Yeah, so honestly, it started out with just me, an acoustic guitar, and then that was the version for so long. Like, and then honestly, it wasn't until the summer of 2020 where I really presented it to my band that I play with, and we kind of did this like almost like 2000s kind of like pop rock vibe to it, where it was like there was no synths, electronic, it was very organic, and there was like just full band sound. And then I brought it in, and I brought it into my studio, and I started like to kind of pop it up a bit. And then it wasn't until 2022 when I officially brought it back into the studio, when I went to Record House in Queens, where I do all my singles. And that's when the song started to form into what listeners hear today.
Awesome. Love that. So what do you want your fans to take away when they listen to this song?
Honestly, if anyone's like listening to it and can relate, like, you know, there's a bunch of comments that I get like on Facebook. Like, I've seen so many people like, I love this song, I relate to it so much. And it's great that they like listen to my music and can relate to it. But at the same time, I kind of write like some like downer songs. So I'm kind of like, I'm sorry you relate to it in a way. Like, I wish you didn't have to, but I'm glad that it's like a space for me and, you know, the people that listen to my music can kind of like come together and connect in that way. So it's kind of like I'm telling my story, but I hope in some sense that like they can see their own personal lives in my lyrics.
Yeah. Yeah. I can only imagine what like your DMs and texts are like. It's like I actually went through that a couple other times with someone I was dating, and then you're like, wait, but that sucks that you went through that, but like, oh, we're like now part of this club. Because I feel like communication lacks in multiple ways of our lives, right? Like with family, with friends, with like significant others, like communication, there's always that disconnect that we feel, you know?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. So okay, so like how do we get better at communication then?
I know that's the kind of thing. Like I always try and I try and be like an open book, and I try and be as like transparent as possible, even when it comes to friends, family. But I'm guilty of it myself. I'm a little reserved in the sense like how I'm feeling sometimes. So I'll kind of like internally shut down, and I'll like bottle things up. Yeah. But I think it's just like really just being transparent and honest with the people around you, and just trying to be like as clear as possible and communicate as best as possible. I know it's so tough.
Yeah. I think it's much tougher than people think, because you might communicate one way with like your best friend, right? But then like other people, you're like, oh, but like we're not clicking like that. And I need to like maybe walk on eggshells, or maybe be like, hey, this is how I feel. How do you feel?
Exactly. And I think that's like, it's such a great point, because I even personally, I do, when I'm around like my closest friends, like I am a totally different person than when somebody first meets me, because sometimes like I'm like really introverted and things like that too. So it's like different relationships call for like different terms of communication and actions almost.
Yeah, but this song I think is a great reminder of just like, let's just like look within ourselves and learn how to communicate better with the people around us, because like it just makes for easier friendships and relationships across the board.
100%. Makes it 10 times easier on everybody involved. You know, if like you're clear from the get go, it's just like it's smooth sailing from there.
Yeah, like this is how it is, like love it or hate it, but like this is how I am. Because like, yeah, like sometimes you feel like you're in a relationship and you're like, okay, I don't want to hurt this person's feelings, so I'm just like not gonna say something. But sometimes sticking it out and feeling how you feel, and you're like, oh my god, I hate this person so much, and you're like, oh, I kind of like, I don't want to tell them I hate them. I just need to tell them like, hey, let's just take a step back. Yeah. Let's like, cool.
100%. And there's nothing worse than like, you know, having to go and really like sit in like in your own headspace and like think about if someone is like, you know, like if what someone else is thinking. Like you should be able to know how they're thinking or how they're feeling towards you in some type of way, instead of just kind of going up and creating your own assumptions in your own head. Because I feel like that's where things like your own communication within yourself can get like all twisted.
I feel the same way. Sometimes I like get it all like weird in my head, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out, and then I talk to the person, I'm like, I was freaking out for no reason.
Exactly. That's when we play our own head games with ourselves.
Yes. So you released the music video for this just a few days ago. Yes. I love it. It like takes place outside. It's like very scenic, like nature, beautiful. Talk to me about the vision of this music video.
So I tried to kind of keep it like stripped, because you know I can tend to get carried away with my like video like creativeness. I want to do different storylines, get tons of different people involved. But I kind of thought, I was like, the only person I think that needs to be involved in this visual can be like me and myself, because it's a struggle between me and another person, and I'm the one that's kind of going through the struggle. So I kind of wanted to just show like the vulnerability that I internally was going through alone, you know. And I feel like being alone in the music video altogether was like super important to show. You know, I'm in the car, like, and that's kind of where I think a lot. You know, I'm in the car a lot of the times, I'm driving, and that's where my thoughts kind of spiral. So that's why we did a bunch of the scenes in the car and driving. And I do when I'm walking or like things like that. That's where my mind tends to race a little bit, and that's where I do my thinkings too. Which is why I was outside 90% of the video, and it was also freezing on the days that we filmed it. We filmed it like in December, and it was, I think it had to have been like 20 degrees out, and I was like just like a long sleeve shirt, and I was freezing.
I was gonna ask you that, because like the thing is, like, I mean, it's gorgeous where you are, like in nature, and it's beautiful. There's no snow or anything, but I'm like, I wonder when this was actually filmed. But like when you say 20 degrees and you're not wearing a coat, I saw you.
It was freezing. Like I had to like take breaks. Like but I didn't have a car. Like we parked the car and was just like, we're gonna walk. We're just gonna like see where it takes us with all of the gear on our backpacks and things like that. And my hands were like, there might be some clips that you could see like later on that my hands are like pink and red because that's how cold it was.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I always like to ask like the behind the scenes stuff because I feel like when you film a music videos, like there's certain cuts and it's like, oh my gosh, can you just walk again? Or you like do the same thing or you do the same thing like maybe, I don't know, 30 different times.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I put my hand up to my face or I don't like the way I look like that or that kind of shot. And so were there any like fun behind the scenes things that you want to share with us?
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, I don't know if he's still on. Because I saw his name pop in, but my guitarist MK Spano actually is the one that filmed this for me. We kind of do like we both do videography, so he was my helping hand and my cinematographer for this video, and it was really just the two of us. Like we both. I kind of told him what I was visioning. He kind of showed me what he had behind the camera, and the two of us just kind of bounced off ideas impromptu and kind of off the shot schedule as well. But it was a lot of fun. Like we tried because it was so cold to be as like professional as possible because it was that cold. Like when we filmed 17 together, the music video, it was warm out. So there was so many more outtakes and so many more bloopers. But for this one, it was like, we got to get this done. I'm not messing around. If I mess up, we're just going to kind of keep rolling.
Yeah, well, you don't look cold, but like now when I watch it, I'd be like, she is freezing, and she just did this for the shot because she just, I don't know, maybe you didn't want to wear a coat that day. I don't know.
I thought of it, and I was like, oh, it's on the vibe for the video. If I have a coat on, I was like, we're gonna really just go with a long sleeve shirt and call it a day.
Yeah. So how long did the video actually take? Like, was it like a 1-day thing?
So we did it in 2 days, and they were about 2 weeks apart from each other. So obviously the car scene and the the nature walking scenes were done. And the car scene took us maybe really like 3 hours, and the nature scene definitely took us maybe like four or five. So I was outside for quite some time.
You're like, why did I choose to do this on a 20-degree day?
Yeah, honestly, and I thought it was going to be like the sun was out for a good moment, so what didn't feel that bad. Yeah. And then it just started getting really cloudy and started getting really cold, and I was like, I chose the worst day to do this.
But you did it for the shot. It looks amazing. The music video is so awesome. And I like the fact that you were alone in it because I think like when you're struggling with this, like, oh my gosh, just please talk to me. Like, let's just communicate. Like, you could say that to somebody else, but it's more of like something that you're dealing with on your own thinking. Like, you're like, oh my gosh, like, why can't we just talk? Like, just talk to me.
Exactly. And that's kind of the thing. It's like, if I'm having this conversation with this person, lack of communication, like it's clearly like a one-sided affair. Like it's clearly like I'm feeling this way and like you're not communicating with me. So it's like I'm the one that's kind of having to suffer and kind of go through these emotional roller coasters. So that's kind of where like, just having me in the video is where I thought made the most sense. And also, yeah, see, NK Spano, he said dodging cars too. Yeah, cars were coming left and right in the middle of this video. So that's probably one of the bloopers. We were kind of like navigating cars coming in from behind.
Okay, so yeah, because I saw that you were like in a street sometime, but then I saw you like it looked like you were on like a path, kind of like in the woods a little bit. So
we kind of had to makeshift. Yeah, like sometimes, like I think right at the end of our filming of the day I was walking, I guess an accident happened, and they were detouring all of these cars to the road that we were filming on at the end. And I was like, out of all the days, they got like maybe 30 cars started coming by, and we're like, okay, that's a wrap.
So he's right. He says dodging cars too. Like you guys are like just trying to shoot this, and you're like, hey, there's cars coming down the street.
Yeah. So it was. Yeah, we were on a real road. We were on an active road, not closed. So we were kind of just dealing with whatever was thrown at us: nature, weather, and cars.
Well, when I watched the music video, I did not see that. It looked calm, cool, and collected, and I was just like, she is having difficulty communicating with this person. This person's not giving her what she needs.
Exactly. So I'm glad I'm able to portray it that way.
Love it. So let's talk about this event that you have next week in Jersey. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so me and MK Spano, we're going to be doing the Writers Round in New Jersey, and it's in Garwood, New Jersey, and it's at Crossroads, and we're going to be doing a few original songs, acoustic wise, and it's basically a Nashville styled showcase where me and 6 other artists are going to be kind of lined up showcasing our original music, and then they're going to open it up to we're going to be drawing out of a hat almost from the audience to create like an open writers round. So it's going to be a really fun night. It's tons of artists, songwriters, and it's going to be a great event. You know, if you love music and you love kind of the singer-songwriter vibe, I think it's a great event to come to, and we're super excited to play for it.
Awesome. That's cool. So how did you get involved with this specific event?
So a good friend of mine, I did a songwriting retreat with her. Her name is Jackie June, and her great friend Rory as well. They put this together. It's a great event. They just had their first one last week, so they reached out to me and they asked if I wanted to be a part of the event. And you know, I was super excited that they asked me, and I was like so happy to be a part of it. So I said yes right away.
Yeah. I think it's cool when they have events like that where there's multiple songwriters. You just like tell stories and you kind of just like rock out, because you never know who you could meet at these events.
It's true, and I think too, like getting to meet other artists, getting to hear their stories or getting to hear their songs. Like, I don't know, it's just like it's a great room for a bunch of songwriters to kind of be vulnerable, tell their stories, and like it's like, and we're all opening up our own personal like journals to each other. So it's kind of like, it's very therapeutic in a way, you know, having a bunch of songwriters in one room sing to each other. So it's a lot of fun that I'm looking forward to. And I'm looking forward to hearing their great songs.
Yeah. And then it's just like, you can like learn different tips and tricks for them, because like you guys all do things very differently.
It's true. I think honestly, every single event of that nature that I have gone to, I have walked away, you know, doing something or learning something brand new that I've then like, you know, introduced into my own personal like career in that aspect. So I love going to and getting to be a part of events like this. So I'm super excited for next week.
Awesome. It's like a constant learning environment.
Exactly. Being around other artists too, like it pushes you, it motivates you, and it encourages, you know, everyone around you. I think that's why, like, and that's the best thing about music and artistry. It's like such an open and welcoming community that you can learn from.
Definitely. And I like the fact that there are communities like this, like songwriting events and just like other musicians coming in. Because sometimes when you're writing stuff and you're creative, it's just like you, when you're just like, oh, you know, I may eventually bring this to my producer, but sometimes it could be a lonely thing creating your own music, right?
It's so true. And that's something that I'm really trying to work on expanding in within myself, because I am that way. Like I'm so like I have this routine where I can really only write with myself, because I get so like lyric heavy and I try and get really personal in the lyric sense. But sometimes I'm like, I need to open up and pull other ideas from like, you know, because another writer could be experiencing the same thing, but be able to word it slightly better than I'm thinking. And I think that's the power of collaboration that like, I think is so great. And I learned that through like going to writing retreats and events like that too. So that's something that I'm every day, like trying to evolve.
Yeah. And it's cool because sometimes like you might find like your future songwriting partner and be like, oh my gosh, like I totally click with this person. And like, here we go. Like I'm learning from them. They're learning from me. We're all like in this boat together.
Exactly. 100%. And that's why I think like the power of collaboration is so key. And that, I mean, that goes with everything. Like even playing like in a band live, like the collaboration that we do in terms of like just songs and interpretation. It's just so, I think multiple minds are sometimes better than one.
Yeah, definitely. So speaking of your band, you're actually, you're going to be in the studio with them in March, right?
Yes, we're going down back to a record house in Queens, and we're going to be recording 2 brand new singles. And this is the first time I've actually gotten to incorporate them into the studio sessions with me. So I'm like really excited, because these next 2 ones, they're a little bit more organic. You know, they introduce different elements that I haven't really released in my past singles. So I'm excited. I'm really excited to go in with them.
Yeah. And that's right around the corner, because when I said March, I was like, oh, that's like 2 months away. No, that is next month.
Yeah. It's really crazy. Time is like, that's the thing. I'm looking at my calendar and I'm looking at weekends, I'm looking at dates, and I'm like, the time is just flying by, and I'm like, March is going to be here before we know it.
Yeah. And then you're also doing the Montauk Festival in May.
Yes, that I'm super excited. We performed at the 11th annual Montauk Music Festival last year. We had the best weekend ever, and we're so excited to be back for the 12th annual.
Awesome. I think you have like so many cool things that are happening like with this single, you know, with your band. You have some shows that you're going to be doing, and then you're going to be like all booked up spring and summer.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a fun time. Like right now is kind of the hunker down time in the winter. That's kind of where you do your writing, your recording, and everything like that. And then once the summer and the warm weather starts to come, that's when like the live essence really comes alive.
Yes, I love that. So other than that, what else do you have coming up?
So right now there's a few dates in the books right now that we're just waiting to like kind of fully lock down in terms of doing live shows. But you know, I'm continuously promoting. Just tell me. There's gonna be some, you know, behind the scenes footage from like the video and some like you know, some snippets of what the demos sounded like. So I'm gonna be just dropping content on Just Tell Me and really see where that can take me, and then kind of segue into, you know, the next release.
Love it. So for the beautiful people watching right now that absolutely love you and want to support you as a musician, what can they do to support you?
Honestly, the biggest way to support me is, you know, like checking out my social links. And literally, like, just if you like my music, if you connect with it in any way, shape, or form, you can add it to your playlist, like it, follow. Honestly, all of that goes such a long way. And, you know, it's hopefully that you like my stuff and you'll follow along for my journey. So,
Yes. And where can people follow you on socials?
you can follow me. I am everywhere on social media. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and, you know, Spotify, iTunes, everywhere. Basically, everywhere you can look up Amanda Ayala, you will see my picture. It's like haunting you.
Haunting you. You're everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think it's good to be on multiple social channels because some people are more like Facebook heavy, some people are more like into TikTok. So I think it's like, and then like YouTube Shorts is blowing up. So it's like you kind of need to like make sure you're on all these platforms to reach all these different kinds of people.
Exactly. I feel like the Cookie Monster. I have my hand in all the cookie jars. That's what I like to say.
You gotta eat all the cookies, right?
Exactly.
Tom Hogan says acoustic version ?
Honestly, that is something that we've talked about, and that's something that we're kind of in the process of, you know, potentially like teasing for the people, being like the original way that it was written. I think that's for people to get to hear like the organic way that I sat down at my desk, pen and pad, and kind of wrote. So I think an acoustic version could be very well on its way.
Heck yeah. I'm about the acoustic version because I like to hear the produced version, like the final version, but then the acoustic version, you're like, oh, that is like so much more intimate.
It's true. It strips the layers down a bit more, and it kind of gets into the nitty gritty of like the story that you're trying to tell, without all of like, you know, the bells and whistles and the ear candies.
Totally. Well, that's all the questions I have for you this evening, Amanda. But guys, don't go anywhere because guess what? Amanda is going to sing the new single. So take it away. Do your thing.
All right. I got my guitar in hand. It's kind of the way I wrote it, essentially. Not on this guitar, but, you know, it's the same essentially. So this is going to be Just Tell Me with, you know, with this song. All right. Hopefully everybody likes this version. Got a way of making my head spin. You push me out and somehow rather me back in. I'm getting lost in your mixed signals. Am I reading this so wrong? I know you got your walls up, but I've been strung around too long. So tell me what you want, babe. Tell me what you need. I'm tired of all these head games you keep playing on me, yeah. So just tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. Don't waste my time playing tricks on me. What you want, babe. Tell me what you need. It's so hard for me to get you in one place. And anytime I get too close, you walk away. And things seem fine when I keep my distance. But then you want me to come close. And you say that you miss me. And you care, then you don't. I'm tired of all these hedges playing on me, yeah. So just tell me what you want, tell me what you need. Don't waste my time playing tricks on me. What you want, babe? Tell me what you need. 'Cause I'm tired of all this in between. You're so blind that you can't see what you're doing. What you're doing to me. You gotta make your mind up fast. I don't know how long I can last anymore. I'm so torn. So tell me what you want, babe. Tell me what you need. So tell me what you want, babe. Tell me what you need. I'm tired of all these sad games. You keep playing on me, yeah. So just tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. Don't waste my time playing tricks on me. What you want, babe. Tell me what you need.
Woo!
Tell me.
Just tell me. Just be honest with me.
That's got to be the motto. Anytime someone is not being clear or concise, I'm just going to say, just tell me.
Just tell me.
That's
I'm not
it.
going to get mad. To talk to me. I don't like, and I feel like I'm going to like make fun of the opposite sex here. I feel like guys don't like to communicate.
It's
right?
so true. It's so true. It's like you have to pull a Band-Aid off almost to get it out of.
Yeah, I'm like, can we like talk? Like my relationships with my girlfriends are so much more like, hey, let's just talk about this. Let's just talk about this. And then you're like next to a guy and you're like, hey, can you just tell me something?
Exactly. It's like a wall sometimes. Sorry.
It's a wall. And like, are you mad at me? Or do you like me? Like, what's up?
Can't read the signals. It's like a big question mark.
So if there's guys watching this, please just communicate with us more. It's all good. Like, just communicate.
Exactly. That's it. Just communicate.
Love it. So if anybody's in the house right now that has questions for Amanda, feel free to put them in the comment section below.
I am here for any questions, any and all questions.
Yes.
So if anyone has any.
Yes.
It's almost like the Jeopardy clock, where like, even if no one asks any questions, it's almost like doo 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 doo.
I love it though. It's all good. It's all good. So it's 2023, which is wild to me. But several years ago, you were on a show called The Voice.
Yes. Oh yes. Good time.
It's crazy because like you look back on it and you're like, oh my gosh, it feels like I was just on this show the other day, right?
It is honestly like there are like the memories that I have from that show. It's like they're crystal clear to me. It's because it's like I feel like that is such engraved in my mind that it's hard for me to feel like that was nearly 20. I'm trying to think how many years. I don't even want to say how many years ago it was because I'm getting older.
2015, right?
Yeah, 2015. So that's got to be what 7, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. Yeah, that's where when I look back at it, I'm like, oh my God, that's a really long time ago. But honestly, I still remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah, that's wild. Do you ever think you would go back on The Voice? Do you think you'd try out again?
I think, honestly, one thing, I don't know if many people know this, but I think if I could, I would. But once you have turned a chair, contractually, you're not allowed to go back on, regardless of how far. You're not allowed back on, which is like, really? I'm like, there's different coaches now. Like, I would definitely be open to ever going back on there, but you know, I am contractually obliged not to go back on.
That sucks. Like, that's crazy because I don't know if you watch America's Got Talent, but America's Got Talent is doing this thing. They call it AGT All-Stars, and they're bringing people from different seasons that maybe, you know, finished 4th in the competition. They didn't win, but were still good because, you know, with a show like that, they have magicians and singers and like dancers and stuff. And I love that they're doing this because like some of these people, you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen this person since 2017. I love them. But as you know, with a show like that, like the singers that go on that show are so amazing, but it's like, I wish the singer could get further.
Yeah, I know, that's the thing too. Like with American Got Talent, it's like hard because like for a singer, because you're competing with so many crazy different acrobatic things, and
Yeah.
but I think that's like the coolest aspect of it is that you can return, and like, you know, it gives an opportunity to like to come back. But who knows if The Voice ever does like not The Voice All Stars or something, but something where like they bring back past contestants, you know, that necessarily like didn't make it as far or weren't finalists or things like that to compete again. Because I love it. I love the concept of those types of shows too. And I think like we talked about, you know, the songwriting events and things like that. It's a great way to meet new people as well.
Totally. Yeah, I definitely think like I think it's kind of messed up that like once you turn a chair, like you can't ever go back on the show. Like what?
That's what I said too. I'm like, man, these rules need to change because, like, at the time now, looking back, going into next season, none of the coaches that I auditioned with are even on the show. So I'm like, different voice.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Well, they should change it up though because I think like, and I haven't seen this contract, but I've heard this contract is very lengthy, and they ask a lot of you. I've heard that some of these contracts for these shows are like a little intense, and some people are like, "Oh my gosh, I can't go on the show because the contract."
Yeah, I mean, that is something that, like, you know, going into it, I was 17, like, I didn't even realize at the time. But, like, you know, there were some things that, like, when we were filming, like, people left in between filming process because of contracts and things like that, or like, just, like, conflicts within the contract, whether prior musical engagements and things like that. So it is a lengthy, and I think with any show comes with those, like, lengthy contracts and things like that. So we get those lawyers ready.
Get them ready. If you're about to do a show like The Voice or America's Got Talent or American Idol, like make sure you look at that contract because they ask some pretty crazy things of you guys.
True, it's true. Thankfully mine's expired now.
Yeah, I think the contract is only like while you're on the show and then maybe like a year after the show. Maybe.
Yeah, it's really short. It's short term after that. So like once just the duration of the time, it's like you're pretty much like, you know, you're the show's artist and like the show's responsibility, which I totally understand as well. Like, you know, you're their liability at the time once you've committed.
Yeah. So is there anybody from your season that you're like really close with that you see yourself potentially collaborating with down the road?
It's so funny that you do say that. I can't say
Oh!
who, but I am in the process. I'm actually this week, I am going down to do actually a photo shoot with another fellow cast member of mine, and we have some things in the works. I can't say this yet, but yeah, so there I still keep in touch with a lot of the castmates that I was on the show with, and you know, this week I'll be seeing another one.
Cool.
Later this week, so for more collaborations.
Yeah, and I love it. Do you talk to anybody from some of the more recent seasons?
Honestly, that's like the cool thing about The Voice is too. It's like I feel like it's like this weird connection, and you know, like we like, depending on when they drop things, like we follow each other, and then it's like communication support. So it's not like personally knowing them, but it's like, you know, the social media support and just like, and we call it The Voice fam, and we kind of like, I try and support anybody that's been on the same journey as me, and I think vice versa.
Yeah, I think it's cool because like I've noticed that like this like group of The Voice fam, like not even just your season, but like, oh, I was on 3 years ago, but like I'm talking to people that were on the show 10 years ago.
It's true. It's one, and there is we do have this like Facebook page that they do have like a lot of like The Voice alums all kind of together. So it's like a great thing for us to kind of connect and almost like share experiences, share music and things like that. And it's just like a big space for all of us that have been through this one wild journey together to be able to kind of talk about it.
Yeah, because other than the other people that were there, most people in your life wouldn't understand.
It's true. And it's one of those things where it's like you're living almost during the duration of your filming period, you're living in this like fantasy world where you're just like nothing else outside of it matters. So to think of it, like to be able to share those times and those, you know, those call times and things like that, it's just nice to know that there's a ton of other people, there's a ton of other contestants that have gone through it with you. Because you can try and tell friends, family, and they're like, okay, yeah, but they don't like fully understand.
Yeah, they don't know like, oh, when you go on stage to do this, like there is a producer here. Like if there's other specific producers or stylists that you work with, like they wouldn't know those people, but the people on your season would be like, oh my gosh, I love that stylist. Like that was so cool. And like, you know, just like the very specific things about your season.
Exactly. It's like we're like almost like we're living in that same world together, even if it was at different times, but like same experiences.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Amanda, thank you so much for coming on my show. The new single is so awesome. And thank you for taking the time to chat about everything and what's coming. I'm really excited for your 2023. You have a lot of cool things going on.
Thank you, honestly, and thank you so much for having me on. And like I love coming on the show. I love getting to talk and things like that. This is always so much fun. So I thank you, and I thank you for supporting and sharing all of my things that I have released since then. So I really appreciate it too. It's always a pleasure.
Yes, of course, guys. If you don't already, please make sure to follow Amanda on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Spotify, YouTube. I'm probably forgetting some, but she's everywhere. Put the song on the playlist. Go watch the music video. She has that date next week in Jersey, the songwriting thing. Montauk Music Fest in May. And stay tuned because Amanda has a lot of other amazing things coming up.
That is very, very true. And to any of my followers that are on here, and if you don't already, make sure you follow Ashley Live because she interviews so many other great artists as well. So
yes. Yeah, so give Amanda a follow. And if you're new to the show and me, please follow me. I'm Ashley Live, and this is Vibe with Ashley Live. Any last words from you, Amanda?
I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been streaming, supporting, not even just this single, but, that have been following me throughout my career. Your support means the absolute world to me, and I am forever grateful. So thank you. Thank you.
Yes, Amanda, thanks so much again for coming on the show. I love having you on. You can come back anytime you want. And guys, have a beautiful evening. Please make sure you learn how to communicate with the people that you love in your life because communication is key, like to anything.
You heard it, 100% correct. So just tell me.
Love it. Well, have a wonderful evening, Amanda. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.
Yes, thank you so much again, and good night.
Of course, good night.